when I had my first child and she was only 10 days old, Neha. My mother-in-law was helping me in those few days. Oh God, I'm just waiting for her to be about 10 years old and then, I'll get back my life. I'll be back on track. I'll start a theatre company. I'll get back to this. I'll do this. I'll do that. And she just laughed and laughed and laughed. India full of people who love to give advice on everything. Forget about parenting, forget about marriage, forget about everything. You sit on a plane with somebody, on a train with somebody. Where are you from? What is it? This thing, what do you do? Blah, 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 blah. And then they start telling you, Acha, I think you should do it like this. You should do it like that. See, my generation, I had my first child at 24. I didn't know what was happening. I was so excited. I wanted to have a baby. And I said, okay, let's go. Let's have it. And then suddenly the baby's there and I say, oh my God, now what do I do? It's very seductive when a director says, it's not true. He's just saying it to get you to do the part. But when he says, I don't want anyone else, I only want you. I only have written this part with you.
Hello, Lillete, and hello, Natasha. Welcome to Hindustan Times. And I'm so happy to see you both. I just saw the, rushes of your new short film, Birth. So why have you both chosen a project like Birth? It looks different, feels different, something very different. Just tell us about it.
So let Natasha tell you why she chose it, then I will tell you why I chose to be part of it. Okay?
Sounds great. So, actually Birth is a film that's very, very close to my heart. I think as a producer, I often feel like we don't hear enough of our own female-driven stories out there, in mainstream media. And to me, honestly, it's shocking how little we cover large parts of a woman's life. You have women looking young and sexy, and then you have them suddenly being moms and grandmothers. But you don't see women pregnant. You don't see women giving birth. You don't see what happens when someone is a new mother. And that is such a transformational part of our life that I really wanted to tell a story about the changes a woman goes through during pregnancy. I also feel like it is a question that every woman grapples with, when they're thinking about becoming a mother, while they're becoming a mother, post becoming a mother. How do I preserve my sense of self while entering this new transition, right? While entering this new phase of life. So basically what I wanted to do is explore this theme, but I wanted to do it in a very engaging, satirical way, because obviously in the end, we are in the business of entertainment. So we said, why don't we make a very layered satire that explores this question of identity? And, of course, I'm super, super thrilled to be able to work with Lillete ma'am, who, brought so much to her role. And of course, also Shreya Dhanvantri, who played the role of our protagonist, Meera, excellently.
So Lillete ma'am, you always go for unique characters. So what made you say yes to this one?
आपने अपने आप बोल दिया कि you like unique characters. See, of course, all that Natasha said holds true. मतलब कि this is a very big watershed in a woman's life. Having a child, it just changes your life forever. And on a lighter note, when I had my first child and she was only 10 days old, Neha, I remember my mother-in-law was helping me in those few days. I was a new mother, very overwhelmed. And I remember telling her, oh God, I'm just waiting for her to be about 10 years old. And then, I'll get back my life. I'll be back on track. I'll start a theatre company. I'll get back to this. I'll do this. I'll do that. And she just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I said, why are you laughing? She said, because you think being a mother has some expiry date, or what? As long as you're alive now, you've taken this job for life. You will worry, you'll be concerned, your life will forever be changed. You will always, always be a mother. So don't think this is going to end at 5 or 10 or 15 or something like that, So it's a very, very life-changing experience, being a mother. So what I felt was, yes, there is all that exploration of, how will I hang on to being myself? I often look at myself in the mirror and say, hello, where is that woman who was in college in LSR? Where is she gone, She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a this, she's a that. But, we are part of, our personalities are all of this. It's not like we lose being Natasha or myself, just because we do have other roles. But for me, what was very interesting in the film, aside from this exploration of hanging on to your sense of self and understanding yourself, after I become a mother, I still, who am I still? That is there. But I think one of the most interesting things the film explores is this great weight and pressure that women have since childhood. You have to be a good mother. Your child has to be perfect. You have to bring them up to be the most perfect children. There is no such thing as perfect. Your mother, my mother, Natasha's mother are all human beings with their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and their own attempts to do the best they can to be a mother. That's all we can do. We can be the best we can be. There is no perfect mother or a perfect child, but this is this thing, the mother must do everything right. What is everything right? She also can lose her temper. She can also have a bad day, bad mood, So this pressure and the guilt that it gives to women that, I'm not being the perfect mother. Am I inadequate? Somebody else is a much better mother than I am. ये सब भी explore होता है इसमें, which is what I found very interesting. I don't know if Natasha had also, of course, she must have thought of all that as well. But it's a very important thing because all young mothers need to see a film like this. That just you have to be yourself. You are who you are. You can't become this, avatar of a goddess to raise the perfect child. There is no such thing. And I think this sense of inadequacy and guilt that children, the mothers start facing, they themselves firstly are overwhelmed. Where are we? Are we now only going to be mothers? Because motherhood just sucks everything out of you. Let me tell you, I don't know whether you are a mother, Natasha isn't yet, but it takes a lot out of you. And this sense of finding yourself again and all is already there. On top of that, there's this pressure that I have to be this amazing mother, amazing. I must be able to do everything perfectly for this child. And it is such a scary prospect because nobody can. Nobody can. So I think that also is satirically explored through this character.
So what I understood is from your role that people who have not gone down that road also give you advice. They guide you. They are ineligible to give their advice, but they guide you.
Of course, every grandmother, auntie, every cousin, everybody thinks they are the expert and they can tell you how to raise a child. Like you said, very often without even any knowledge. And plus, every child is different. Every mother is different. Every relationship is different. So aside from saying that, usko ye khila do ya wo pila do, there's nothing more that is similar between a mother and a child relationship. So for me, this character was also very interesting to play. As I was telling someone in another interview just now, that every actor likes to go very far in exploring characters that are very unusual and very different from them necessarily, or inhabiting the skin of characters who to understand human beings. What does an actor love? Why does he love acting? Because they try to understand humanity by getting under the skin of very different people and trying to see the world from that point of view. So every time there's a character very different, it interests me because I want to understand how does this person look at the world and what is she thinking and what is her attitude. And so that's what makes it interesting for me to play. The regular ones are very easy to play. They're not difficult. But just before this, for instance, I did a film with Nawaz, in which I played I'm so happy that director had the sense to think of me, because otherwise when they look at me, they don't think about these characters. So there's this woman who's a dadi in a small town in UP who just sits on a cart, smokes a hookah and cracks her cane, and is the boss of the family, but speaks in a UP dialect and is absolutely plain and simple like an old dadi in a village. So that man to think of me, and he said, I told the producer, and producer said, "Arey, aap Lillete Dubey ko matlab is role mein legi?" To unhone kaha, "Kyun nahi? She's she can do the part. She's a good actor." And I said, bless you, because people get so stuck in what I look like or anyone looks like, what you look like, or Natasha looks like, because film is so visual and we are so spoiled in the theatre. We can play anything. I can play 90-year-old, I can play 30-year-old, I can play a child also. So to me, it's very constraining. That's why when you're saying you're looking for unusual things, I desperately try to find some variety in film, because otherwise you will just be put in one drawer. After Zubaida, I was put in this drawer, ki aap nahi Aruna Irani ban jayenge. I said, I love Aruna Irani, but I don't want to be Aruna Irani. I don't want to go in a drawer and be labeled Bhabhi, Aruna Irani. You know what I mean? I want to be free. I should be able to do anything I feel like. So Birth comes under that category. It's not a character I get to play very often. And I was delighted to play it. And I was delighted to be working I love working with young people, new people, who have a new voice, have a new way of looking at things, who want to tell a story in a different way. I find that very energizing and exciting. So, Natasha is a young producer who has a different take, wants to make a different kind of film. The director is also young, and I like the way he treated the subject. The subject can be treated in many ways, but the imaginative and slightly almost surreal space in which it went, I like that. It was not your regular kind of, way to tell the story. So, and it was a delight, of course, to work with Natasha, with Shreya. She's lovely to work with. She's very real, and, it was very enjoyable. So the whole experience was enjoyable. The subject, the people I worked with, and I love jumping like this, from a short film to a web series to a big film.
You're everywhere. I just loved you in Call My Agent. That was lovely. That was very fun. We only wanted that part to be, bigger. Have a whole series of that solo part. That character deserves a series.
The best compliment is when people keep telling me, why don't we see more of you? Why don't you do that part in a bigger role? I said, that means you really enjoyed it because you wanted to see more of that character. You want to see more of me. So that I think is the nicest compliment when people say, कि अरे आप और चीजों में क्यों नहीं हैं? आप ये role बड़ा क्यों नहीं था? Kind of thing. So I must tell you, HT is sponsoring my new play, which I'm coming with, which you are going to come and watch at Kamani next in exactly 1 month. And I'm going to catch you through Gunjan to write. Of course, HT is writing something, I think, already on it. But it's a very interesting play, and you must come and see it. I'm in it, Ira's in it, and Joyce and Gupta's in it. So you have to come and see that. And that is totally different from Madam Nitya that I played just now. Or called.
That is also something very new we have seen of yours. We haven't seen anything like that.
From what?
From Nitya, Mama Nitya.
Yes.
That is also something. So have you also, faced such people who give unnecessary advice about pregnancy? Pregnancy, chalo, is a thing of the past, but parenting, they have always advised you about parenting.
India full of people who love to give advice on everything. Forget about parenting, forget about marriage, forget about everything. We are full of, we're a country that loves, you sit on a plane with somebody, on a train with somebody, where are you from? What is it? This thing, what do you do? Blah, 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 blah. And then they start telling you, Acha, I think you should do it like this, you should do it like that. You don't have to ask. It's all unsolicited advice that Indians love to give people. So that is very much there, especially when you're a new mother, you get very zapped because, so many different people are telling you so many different things. And you keep thinking, is this the right thing? Or is that the right thing? What is the right thing? And you get more confused than before. Luckily, my mother was a doctor. So, I listened to her. I didn't listen to anybody else. And I knew at least medically, she's giving me always the right advice about, Baki, you have to figure your way out. It's like marriage. I say marriage is a leap in the dark with a blindfold. Jump off a deep end of a cliff with your eyes closed and hope for the best. So having children is something like that. You find your way. See, my generation, I had my first child at 24. I didn't know what was happening. I was so excited. I wanted to have a baby, and I said, okay, let's go, let's have it. And then suddenly the baby is there, and I say, oh my God, now what do I do with this child? The whole of her life is in my hands. I have to raise her in every way, mentally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, morally. You just get overwhelmed, you know. So, but I must say, at the end, having had 2 children, I think the joys kind of outweigh all the worries and the tension and the concerns. And now I have 2 grandkids who are girls, going to turn 4 very soon. Takis, twins. And this is better. I tell my daughter, she says, you keep spoiling them. I said, listen, I brought you up. Now my job is to spoil my grandchildren. My job is not to discipline them and teach them and all that. You sit and do all that. I will have fun and indulge them completely. So I think I prefer being a grandparent, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's the next film we make. But actually, I think Lillete ma'am made a very interesting point, actually. So I lived abroad for a long time. I was abroad for 10 years. And when I came back to India, I was actually really shocked by this whole thinking of what will society say, right? This log kya kahenge, I feel like permeates every aspect of our life.
You must be asked constantly, Natasha, when are you having a child? Constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And it's so funny to me because it's sort of like, as a woman, when you're basically first asked, when are you getting married? Then once you're married, it's like, oh, when are you having a kid? Then once you have a kid, it's like, when are you having your next kid? So you're basically living your life on a timeline, right? And the funny thing is, once you actually please people, whatever you do right, it's never enough, right? People are always saying, what's the next thing? So that's why Lillete ma'am's character was very, very interesting because, we didn't want to portray, what we could have done is portray all these very typical aunties, talking in Meera's ear, Shreya's role, talking in Meera's ear and saying, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? What we wanted was actually a very classy character who had everything together and seemed to have the perfect life. Try and brainwash Meera, right? Because that's what gets into your mind, I feel. It's not, there's one thing when there's a lot of people who don't seem to know what they're saying, telling you what to do. But when someone seems to be wiser than you, ahead of you, having done everything right, that's, I think, when people start to crumble.
Correct. Well put.
And they, actually listen to you. They think, oh, you are wiser than me. I will listen to you. I know nothing and you are the one who is right. I think that is what the character communicates.
Yeah.
So don't you think the message deserves to reach a wider audience? It's like releasing on Disney Plus Hotstar. So we aren't doing enough regarding women rights at all. So don't you think this message deserves to reach a wider audience? We have never talked about how pregnant women feel. We have never talked about anything like this ever.
Yeah, I mean, so that's, I feel like we obviously want to spread this message. I think Disney Plus Hotstar is obviously a great platform. It's one of the best platforms in India. And, we can always consider doing a feature film on this, right? Basically, we test this theme. And then through that is what we do at Boundless. We make films and series. So we can always explore this in a larger way.
Actually, it'll make a great series. Different women pregnant and, there are comical sort of series made abroad about being pregnant and all that, in the comedy space. But it would be interesting to have like 3 different women pregnant at the same time with different backgrounds, different personalities, and how they there was a lovely series, I don't know if you saw it, Natasha, called Parenthood, which I really enjoyed. It was
I saw it was very fun,
but बहुत कुछ बोला.
Yes,
it's lot of things. It's one of those not on your radar because nobody talking about, obviously about that particular series. It's not a Game of Thrones or something. But I really enjoyed it. I loved the performances. I loved everything. So again, especially in the Indian context, talking about women having children, sort of an independent woman having it, a single mother maybe, one who's in a very sort of Marwadi, Gujarati, traditional kind of situation, one who may be gay, one who is a young couple, so different women, maybe 4 women in very different circumstances, but all faced with having a baby and how that's life altering. And that could be a interesting thing to explore.
Absolutely. I feel like you can't tell enough stories on it. This is just the start.
If you think about it, there are really not enough stories. I mean, I didn't see Badai Ho, for instance. I'm very bad. Yesterday, I was so bad at that quiz, which somebody was asking me, because I haven't seen this Hindi film, I haven't seen that Hindi film, I haven't seen that Hindi film. I see very little now, and I'm very choosy about what I see. But Badai, of course, I would have liked to have seen, but I didn't see. So they were showing me pictures of stomachs and saying, "Acha, which movie is this from?" I have no idea. But like she was saying, I mean, when you see it, it's more in passing that character is pregnant. The whole process and experience of having a child and what it means, which we have explored very sort of quickly and briefly in this film, because obviously it's a short film. That thing has not been explored, as she said, in any film really. What it really does to you, bodily, mentally, physically, and, in terms of your whole life, how it changes you, that has never really been explored in the film or series or anything like that.
And just to add to that point, I don't want this labeled as a woman's film. I actually want men to watch this film or, a series of film we make on this, because it's not also just about how it changes you, right? It also changes all your relationships. So of course it's going to impact your husbands, your parents, your in-laws. This is not just a woman's issue. A baby changes everyone. So I also, want to tell these stories and make sure that all the men in our lives are watching this.
Yeah, it puts a strain on your relation, even on your marriage. Not strain, but there's a pressure on it, because you expect the husband to participate and, do an equal amount of sort of caretaking, but of course it never happens. So it puts big stress on your relationship, big stress. And then you're so distracted and you're so consumed by the baby that it affects other things also. So that is a very interesting dynamic also that should be explored, which was briefly in this also, in Birth also it was explored. Okay.
So we are so modern still. We are so backward in supporting pregnant women, lactating women, even letting women decide about their bodies. In US you cannot have a say on your abortion. So it's like, is there a solution? We are in 2022 and we are have reached nowhere. Even after 50 years we might reach nowhere. So is there a solution?
I tell you, it's funny, my parents are IVF specialists. How Lillete ma'am said her mother was a doctor. So same for me. I think the issue is that there's so little data around women's bodies. So, even in pregnancy, for example, we don't know, does drinking coffee actually impact your baby, for example, right? That's actually a scene that we explore in the film, where as part of what, society's expectations, when Mira's trying to be a perfect mother, she's told, you can't drink coffee. When she has a sip of coffee, she feels super guilty. But we have no idea if that's true or not. So I feel like until we really explore and we do the research on what are different actions, how our actions impact, our baby's health, for example, we're not going to be able to say whether it's right or wrong, right? And then you will have men making random decisions on our behalf. So I feel like the way to combat this is not just to, be activist or say, hey, it's our body. It's actually, I think, maybe this is my science background talking, it's through data. If we had the numbers to say that actually being active in pregnancy or working is better for you than just lying at home, then what could our mother-in-laws tell us? That's my very progressive take on it.
Yeah, her point is a very good point. That I'm also shocked at this very regressive thing about the abortion law in America. It's just horrifying and shocking completely. That's what I'm saying. That is the beginning of your liberty as a woman. That you have control over your body and you decide. It's your child and your body. So how can anyone start, that's where it all gets muddied with religion and so many other things. But at the bottom line, it is your body and your decision completely. I am a very, very staunch believer in that you decide. And plus, you see, you can take that to such an absurd length. Somebody who's who's got a child who's not okay, or the woman is going to lose her life because it's life-threatening for her. Who makes all those decisions then? Even, all that also gets swept away with this no abortion, under no circumstances. There has to be this thing. But even if there were some extenuating circumstances, it is still an absolutely ridiculous law to pass. I mean, and a country like America, I think the whole world was shocked, completely shocked with that Wade decision, Roe versus Wade decision.
Well, I was thinking, if American can do it, then what will happen about us? What will our society reach? Where will it reach? So, okay, I just move a bit far from that topic. So, Lillete, what makes the cut when you are looking for such offers? We have seen you in like every variety of role, but still there are more.
Oh, not
you always surprise us.
There's some left still for me to do. Nothing.
How do you choose them?
I'll tell you honestly, it's a gut thing. Sometimes, see, I'll tell you, in theatre, it's a totally different thing, completely different. I choose the material. I don't act for anyone else. I only act for myself on stage. So I choose the material. I interpret it because I direct the piece also myself. So whether it's about a dysfunctional family, whether it's about being an artist, whether it's something else, it's about sexual abuse, jo bhi hai. I choose the subject. And so if I'm interested and there's a role for me, I play it. I have a great deal of variety in it. Where this is concerned, it's not my material, right? It doesn't represent or reflect me. So I have to resonate with it in some way. Either feel the subject is very interesting, like My Brother Nikhil, I want to be part of this film because it talks about the first gay guy who had AIDS in India, HIV in India. So it was an important story. When Onir came to me, he didn't have much money, but he was so keen to have me. The other thing is, I have to admit this openly, it's very seductive when a director says, it's not true. He's just saying it to get you to do the part. But when he says, I don't want anyone else, I only want you. I only have written this part with you in mind.
You mean to say everyone comes to you with this same line, we want only you?
No, I always say, because sometimes there's small films, independent films, and the money is not great at all. So they'll say, but we really see you in this role, ma'am, and we really want you to do this role and this and that. Anyway, Onir was one of them. He was very sweet and he kept saying, I want you to do this part. But I believed in the film. It was not so much even my role. I like my role. It's not that I didn't like it. And I'm very concerned about who I act with, who are the other actors, what is the subject. Like you said, is it a little different from what I've done before? At least a little bit different. Of course, every role can't be different. So it's that. Sometimes it's just working with some great actors. For me, Bagban was to work with Mr. Bachchan, to work with Paresh, to work with, So sometimes it's that, to work with Shah Rukh or Amir or someone, just to get a chance to work with some really good actors. So there, the subject may not be what's pulling me. It may be the team, the director, whether it's Nikhil or Karan or someone, the team. Kalona Ho, the role was fun, but it was the whole team. And so sometimes it's the subject, sometimes it's the team, sometimes it's I really, really want to do that role because it's a very different kind of role. So then I forget everything else and I say, I won't get a chance to do a role like this. Let me do the role. So it's different things that pull me. It's rarely for the money, So for me, birth was a very interesting subject. It had the young, very enthusiastic, dynamic sort of team of people. And Shreya was a lovely person to work with. And I liked what it said. So, but the next two things I'm doing are totally different. Totally. I'm going to shoot for two new things. One is a feature and one is an Amazon series. And they're like the other side completely. But that's the fun. I'm always looking for things that are different, completely different. So one is a Kashmiri character, one is a very, very, very fun character. So I just keep saying I'm lucky that still at this ripe old age, still some interesting work keeps coming on its own. And I manage to get some variety, at least in the work that I'm doing. But I think people also know, like you, that I look for different things. They come to me and they say, sometimes they say to somebody, Abhi, what is this? What are you doing next? Why aren't you asking me? They said, ma'am, it has to be something that will interest you. So unless we have something interesting, we don't come to you, because we know you're not wanting to do this, don't want to do the same old thing again. So I said, I don't want to do the same old thing, the chulbuli bhabhi or the chulbuli auntie or something. Not that I mind doing it. I mean, it's fun. But, I'm getting older. I want to do different things.
Okay. You were also working on Blind with Sonam Kapoor?
Yeah. I play her mother in it.
So is it like any similar to Black or any other film? What exactly is like?
Remake. It's a formal remake of a film called Blind, which was a Korean film, which was a huge hit, blockbuster hit. So it's a remake of that, in which Sonam plays a blind cop. It's very interesting. It's a thriller, real edge of the seat thriller. And there's only her, me, Vinay Pathak, and Saurabh Shukla in it. Not Saurabh Shukla, sorry, Purab Kohli. So yeah, that we shot more than a year ago.
I just wanted to ask Natasha also about Unchai. What can we expect about?
Yes, that sounds good.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. So Unchai is a film directed by Suraj Barjatia, starring Amitabh Bachchan, Baman Irani, Anupam Kher, Neena Gupta. That's coming out 11th November in theaters. So please record that date and make sure you catch it. I'm super excited by that film because, as we're saying, Boundless Media, of course, likes to tell new stories for a changing in new India, because I strongly believe that our audience has fundamentally changed and we need to give them something different. And this is actually a very unique story. It's a beautiful, feel-good story about friendship, but it's also a story about coming of age at an older age. So I think this is going to be a family film relevant to people at every age. It's again, it's about exploring identity. So just the way we're talking about how, you need to sort of reinvent yourself as a mother while keeping a part of you. This is the same thing. As you get older, business comes in the way, family comes in the way, children gets in the way. But then, all those things start to fall away. And then again, it's just you. And then how do you sort of try and sort of live for yourself?
So it's like going to be different from what Suraj Barjatia has already shown us? Like family dramas, wedding.
Absolutely. So this is, so Suraj ji is amazingly good at, making feel-good films that have a family message that really sort of make you laugh and tug at your heartstrings. So this film will do all of those things, but it's actually also very different. So this is also, I think, Suraj ji reinventing himself through the film.
Nice.
I also have a request for Lillete ma'am to please come up with something like Call My Agent or something like Zubeda will also do.
Yeah, well.
So please don't say no to any such thing which comes your way. We will be waiting.
Okay. So cute. Audiences just love comedy. Yes,
okay.
yes.
It's so nice talking to you.
Comedy is coming.
Yes, it's so nice talking to you, and I loved both, and I hope everyone else also loves it. Thank you so much.